What's up everybody and welcome to this section. We're going to be talking about mobile app design here, and in this particular video we're going to be talking about backgrounds and the various types of backgrounds you can apply to your designs. So I've started off, I hit A for artboard and just chose an iPhone 8 Plus to get us started here. And just a couple things I'll add before I jump into backgrounds. I'm going to select my artboard, come up here to insert, and let's go to iOS UI design, bars, status. Let's get the black one here and I'll place that. Go ahead and bring that over just so it looks like a real phone. And just so we don't have to do it later, let's go back, get the same thing, iOS UI design, bars, status, and let's grab the white one as well. A little bit harder to see, but it is there. Put it in the same spot and drag that over. And for now, let's just turn that one off. Okay, next up, I wanted to show you, if you do a search for Google sign-in button, you come to the site called Sign-in Branding Guidelines. If you come to this page, you can download some files, and you will have a sketch file in there. When you open the sketch file, you'll have open recent, Google sign-in button. One thing I like to have on my design sometimes is sign-in buttons. So right here they've got actually all three of them. I'm going to hold down Shift, grab all three, Command C to copy, I'm going to Command W to close out of here. So I have those, and now I'm going to click on my artboard and just paste those in so I can use them and they look a little more realistic as we're designing. Over here in the layers panel, all three of them are selected. You can rename each one of those to make it easier to know which one is which. I'm not going to do that for now. I'm just going to group them and I'm going to rename them login buttons. Okay, so we have that. I'm going to drag this down to the bottom. And one by one, let's go through a couple different options you have when placing backgrounds in Sketch. So first off, I'm just going to draw, let's see, a gradient background. So I'm going to hit R on my keyboard for rectangle and draw out a rectangle. Right now that's over everything and that's fine. So I mean, that's one option you have. You can make this a solid background and choose a color. That's one way of going about it. If you want to get a little more creative, come over here to the fills, click gradients, and you can apply a predetermined gradient. I've got one selected that I like. You can go to uigradients.com, choose one you like. I'm just going to click on the hex code values, jump back over here into Sketch, and then apply these. So it's selected right here. I'm going to hit Command V to paste, hit enter, and actually I want that on the bottom, so I'll select this reference point. You can click it here or you can click it here. Double click, let's paste that in. Let's choose our top reference point now and go back over to UI gradients, select that, it automatically copies it for you. We'll go into this guy here, Command V to paste it, hit enter. So now I've got my gradient background. You also have the option to place multiple points in here, reference points. So if I wanted to add another reference point, I could add one right in the middle. I can add something a little bit different, make it look kind of weird. If you don't want that there, just select it, hit delete, and it's gone for good. We'll take this, I'm going to rename it main background, and then we'll drag this under everything. So now this is an option if you wanted to have a gradient background. It can look nice in certain situations. I think it looks much better if you have like a username and password button here, and then maybe these are hidden so they don't, or change maybe the color of this red button to kind of blend in with this. That might be another option. Alright, so next up, let's drag this guy down a bit, maybe to about here, and I'm going to double click to put it into edit mode, and I'll select this point here. I'll come over into my inspector, click the mirrored, and I'm just going to drag this down. Let's see, probably about the halfway point here. Let's do the same thing the other side. I'm going to select this point here, choose mirrored, and I'm going to drag this handle out to about the middle of my design. Something like that, maybe a little further down, maybe a little further up, so they look the same. Alright, with that selected, let's just change it to white. And solid and white. You can't see it there, but you will in a second. So now I'm going to go ahead and add a photo into my background to have a little bit more complexity. And if I drag this beneath that main background now, let's make this just a little bit bigger. So now I have this cool effect where it's got this wavy little transition from my photo into the bottom of the page. You can bring this up, make it look a little bit better. Something like that. So there's another option. You can get creative with your backgrounds and overlap and add some shape in there instead of just going straight across from one side to the other. And I do see a little bit of darkness there. Maybe I have a border applied. No matter. Let's go ahead and get rid of this guy for now. I'm going to take this and put it back over here. Let's bring this Chicago background in. And I like the way that looks. Maybe a little bit more over right about there. So we touched on this a little bit before, but I'll go through it once again. Let's bring our login buttons. I'm going to drag, this is my main photo here. This is the Chicago photo. I'm going to bring it below the login buttons. I'm going to drag my login buttons down just a bit. So up here, our status bar isn't really showing because the black is blending in with the photo background. So now we can come over here and switch over to the white, and then you can actually see that. Looks a lot better. So just small little detail, but it definitely makes all the difference when you're sending this design to a potential client. Alright, now let's hit R for rectangle. I'm going to draw one out here. And what I want is to apply kind of a blurry background. And let's rename this. Let's call this blur layer. I'm going to drag this down beneath the login buttons so the login buttons show. I'll come over here to my fills. I'm going to change this to, let's say, a black color. And let's go down to our blurs and go to background. And now let's go over to the opacity for the fill and start dragging that over. I want to get it really low. And then in conjunction with that, now that we can actually see through, let's go to our background blur and drop this down a bit so we can kind of make out what that is. I'd say like a 2, sometimes a 1. 1 might be not enough. 2 or 3 is probably good, something like that. And I would bring these buttons up a bit. And you could have your company logo here, but that would be a way to do a blurry background. And it's very important when you're doing that to drop this opacity down for the fill. This opacity up here is not going to do it for you. Okay, next up, let's go ahead and get this office background and drag it in here. And I'm going to rename this office background just so I know what it is. I'm going to drag that down above the Chicago one. So now I can see it. And I don't want a blur layer this time, so let's go ahead and turn off the blur. This time what I want is an actual fill. Let's bring this back up to 100% for my fill. And I want to apply maybe a color here. Let's go with a solid color, and let's do maybe a blue, something like that. And then I can drop the opacity down. Maybe drop it way down. So something like that. Blue, I'm not really feeling that blue. Maybe kind of a blue purplish color. Drag these login buttons down a bit. That can be an option as well. Let's see. I kind of like the black for up here. Let's get rid of the white and bring the black back. Another option with the solid, you can come over here and do a gradient again. So let's apply a predetermined gradient. Maybe the green. I don't like the green. This red, it's kind of nice. What you can do is come up here and lighten this guy up. Come over here to the other reference point. You can darken the other side up a bit. And let's bring this opacity back up. That's why it's not looking that great. Maybe something like that. So there's another option as well. And last but not least, I'm going to show you one of my personal favorites. I'm going to go ahead and select that blur layer, which is no longer a blur. come over here to gradients, and I want to bring this opacity all the way up to 100% to get started. Let's choose our fills, and I'm going to choose the top reference point, which is this guy up here. And I'm going to go down to the alpha, and I'm just going to drop that down so I can start to see through. And now what I have going is I can see through the top here, but the bottom is still a little bit solid. And you can take that bottom reference point and push it up just a bit more so you can have some of the darkness going up a little bit more, so it transitions a little bit higher up. It's a very cool effect, one of my personal favorites. Okay, that's pretty much it for backgrounds, just trying to keep it short and sweet for you guys. Let's move on to the next one and we'll get into some more mobile app design elements. Thanks for watching.